I want to know what maybe, and Rebecca in particular, what you two thought, because you're running for Congress, and what you think of Pelosi's position. She didn't know about this. What happened? Was she distracted? She was buying her favorite chocolate ice cream. Was she like getting a new refrigerator? What was she doing that didn't let her see what was happening? Was she doing insider trading at the moment at that time?
She had the audacity. She had the audacity to tweet that, oh my gosh, the Democrats are doing so much to try to extend the eviction moratorium. Oh my God.
Nancy Pelosi, I didn't know, did stand-up comedy. Here's a tweet from her. What ensuring every American has a roof overhead is a value that unites the Democratic Party. That's why I led a relentless campaign to extend the CDC eviction moratorium. In an act of pure cruelty, Republicans blocked this measure, leaving children and families out on the streets.
Gosh, who knew that Republicans held a majority?
It's a lie that it's relentless. If it was relentless, she would have been there on the steps of Capitol Hill. She would have made everybody stay and not gone on recess. I think about recess. The last time I had recess was when I was in 4th grade. Yeah. I don't get to go on recess every year. I have to worry about paying my rent. I have to worry about my neighbors being able to pay their rent. And when you have Nancy Pelosi saying, oh, we worked so hard, it was the Republicans, that is the freaking gag of our administration, the way that our society works right now. It's a duopoly. It's the red versus the blue, the left versus the right, always placing blame on each other when they're the same freaking thing. They are the same freaking thing. Do not blame the Republicans, because it was the Republicans and the moderate Democrats that actually just had to go home and go on their recess. But the gag is, it's the Republicans and the Democrats. I'm sure many people watching this program and many people on this panel saw that there were House Democrats, AOC, Cori Bush, who were camping out in front of the Capitol saying, oh, we need to extend the eviction moratorium. But, why do you wait until the freaking last day to do that?
Yeah.
When all the Congress people have already gone on recess. Our elected officials, who we pay $170,000 a year to protect us, to write our laws, to look in our favor, are on recess right now. When people are facing eviction, that is messed up.
And if you look at Cori Bush's letter, she says Maxine Waters had an act for them to vote on, and they refused to do a roll call vote. So it just was sitting there.
They knew this was a problem. They've known about this for a long time. So then to say, well, the White House just dropped it on our desk, yesterday we only had one day. You knew this was coming. You knew, and you chose not to do anything about it. The White House passed a buck to you. You pass a buck to the CDC. Pass a buck to the Republicans, to the state and local governments that haven't distributed the aid. Like, yes, state and local governments should have distributed the aid by now, obviously. And there's a lot of screw-ups that are happening with that in Washington state. But for these elected officials to sit in office wringing their hands over how powerless they are is so enraging. It's like, but the Republicans in an act of pure cruelty. Well, the unanimous consent vote, that's how they decided to move forward with it. Let's do a unanimous consent vote on whether to hold a vote on the eviction moratorium. And that's the parliamentary maneuver you use when you don't want something to move forward because people don't have to go on the record. Those moderate Dems who were threatening to get on a plane because they didn't want to vote about this, they don't have to go on the record. So the whole thing is just a circus and a show from beginning to end. And there's so many things that could be done right now. Nancy Pelosi could reconvene the House and they could extend the moratorium. Something else that not a lot of people know, is not really discussed. Biden could, with the stroke of a pen, an executive order, establish an agency to enact federal rent control. And the president has done that in the past in this country. And so there's many different things that we could be doing, but instead, and it's the same at the local level, Tacoma City Council, there's nothing we can do. The county council, it's their fault. County council, it's the city council's fault. Then they say, no, it's the state legislature's fault. Congress says it's the state. The CDC says it's the White House. The White House says it's the Supreme Court. And the thing is, like, all this, it's just like the shell game of whose fault is it? Well, people are actually just getting screwed. 15 million people are at risk of eviction being turned out on the street, and we already have 550,000 who are homeless. In Tacoma, the tent city that Tacoma Housing Now the direct action group that I have organized with. The tent city is literally on top of the site of a Hooverville from the Great Depression in Tacoma. And that bill was burned down by the fire department because they wanted to get rid of it. They didn't like homeless people back then either. And then it just sprang back up, popped back up, this giant tent city. And now there's a tent city on that very spot. And when they dig in the ground, they turned stuff like they found a 1930s glass Lysol bottle, like literally on that spot. And so this, it's the problem is getting much, much worse right now, but it's been an issue in our system from the very beginning. And the fact is that our system requires homeless people because if everybody had their needs met, there would be no profit to be made. Real estate developers, landlords, mortgage brokers, if there were no homeless people, there would be no demand. And it's the same thing. If there were no unemployed people, wages would go up. There have to be unemployed people in our system. There have to be hungry people. There have to be poor people. And that's the way our capitalist system works. So we can get these urgent crises that are happening right now. And it is extremely urgent. That's why I'm actually going to be driving down to San Francisco to sleep outside Nancy Pelosi's house because it's just completely immoral what she has allowed to happen. There's that urgency, but then there's also this systemic rot in our entire system, the way it's structured, where there have to be homeless people or the system would grind to a halt.
Just to add to that, I slept out. Me and my campaign manager, when we ran in 2020, we slept out in front of our the person who I'm running against, my congressperson, Adam Schiff.
Oh.
We purchased a tent and we slept out in front of his office in a tent on National Sleep Out Night to see what it was like to experience homelessness in Los Angeles. We pitched a tent on the sidewalk. I cannot tell you how much we were hassled by passersby, by security, by everybody who just wanted us to not exist. And there we were, just trying to sleep in a tent. Our tent got kicked, it got pounded on, and we got just moved around. And it makes you think about people who are experiencing homelessness every single night and who don't have the option to move elsewhere. And what a lot of cities, states, and the nation is trying to do is just shift people around. You can't stay here, move there. Well, next week, that city is going to say, you can't stay here, you got to move there. So as Rebecca mentioned earlier, it's a constant passing of the buck. Why don't we just help people with the billions of dollars that this nation has? Why don't we just help people instead of things like funding the military, almost $1 trillion a year?
Can you tell us maybe about what just happened in California?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so tragic. It's so awful. It's so cruel. It's so inhumane. But just this past week, the LA City Council passed an amendment to a municipal ordinance that essentially outlaws homelessness. What it has done is it has made it illegal for people to sit, lie, or sleep within 500 feet of a park, of a school, of a freeway ramp, of several other public places, within 500 feet of a homelessness shelter, ironically, within 10 feet of a driveway, an entrance, an exit, a loading dock, and punishable by citation, removal, and arrest. And so essentially, this has outlawed homelessness in Los Angeles, which, as many of you may know, LA is one of the epicenters of homelessness. On any given day in LA County, there are more than 60,000 people that are unhoused. In LA City itself, there are more than 40,000 people unhoused on any given night. Where are these people supposed to go? If you do not have the money to afford housing, first of all, how do you have the money to afford a citation and removal and arrest? But where are these people supposed to go? It is the most inhumane, cruel approach to homelessness that I've seen in the city of Los Angeles as of yet.